Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET. Now let's also bring on board Shivangi Sarda as well as Jinna, who is joining in with us. Shivangi will be taking us through all those technical stocks that are buzzing, while Jinna is joining in with us from the research team. Let me start then with the first stock that we'll be talking about today. HUL, that's the stock that is in focus. Now, they reported their numbers yesterday post-market hours. Overall, when you look at it in terms of revenue pattern margins, that was in line with expectation. But volume growth has finally started seeing a recovery coming in, and 4% is the volume growth that the company reported, which was an uptick from versus the last quarter as well as last year. And obviously that indicates that rural surely started seeing a bit of a recovery coming in. There is a margins, the company said, is expected to remain at these levels. Volume growth better than estimated. Premium segment is doing well for the company. Personal care, yes, an impact came in this time because the company had taken price corrections, which overall impacted the earnings of the company. Now, other than that, when you look at it, what most of the brokerages have done, and overall consensus, when you check, the consensus target price has been increased by most of the brokerages. So now the consensus target price is at around 2,119 versus the previous target price of 2,662. Now you have ICICI Securities that has upgraded the target, Nuvama, Investec and Goldman Sachs. So clearly a bit of a thumbs up coming in. Yes, today the stock is a bit subdued in trade, but let's not forget, like you can see the chart on your screen as well, last 3 months the stock has already seen a run up, 21% uptick in the last 3 months. So today a bit of a subduedness only because the stock has run up. Otherwise it was a good set of numbers.
All right, let's talk about Go Fashions then. This one has just come out with its numbers a short while ago, and if you look at the profit, it saw an uptick of about 9% on a year-on-year basis, coming in at around 29 crore rupees. You have the revenues that saw an uptick of about 15.8%. EBITDA also saw a good jump. If you look at the margins, but if you compare it on a year-on-year basis, 32.8% versus 33.8%. They also had an investor presentation and very positive commentary coming in the investor presentation from Go Fashion. They're saying they're starting to witness positive same-store sales growth during the month of June, and they're expecting that momentum to continue in the months going ahead. Apart from that, they're aiming to convert 60% of their EBITDA to operating cash flows. They're aiming to open between 120 to 150 new stores in FY25. And also they spoke about their acquisition, or rather the tie-up with the apparel group in the Middle East area. They're saying it is on track and the first store should open in FY25. So the good set of earnings, better than estimated, along with the fact that good commentary coming in the investor presentation, the stock is seeing uptick of about 4.8% as we speak.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock, and that is the first stock on the technical. Shivangi, good afternoon. And you've picked out ICICI Prudential for us. This one surely reported its numbers, good AP growth, strong delivery in terms of channels as well. But what is the outlook in terms of technicals? Are you expecting the run-up to continue now for ICICI Pru?
So yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So we've seen that, most of the insurance-related companies are acting up quite well today. Good amount of price volume accumulating here, and the setup is quite positive because it's now turning from its crucial support zones. Now, talking about ICICI Pru, we've seen on the weekly basis also the stock has been up from the last 4 to 5 weeks. Any small declines are being converted into buying. So definitely the stock has a good base formed, and now strength is building up. So looking quite positive for the next run. Despite the market weakness, these stocks are doing well. So of course, they are showing resilience over here. So the targets are around 715 for this stock immediately, and 670 would be a support to watch out for.
On then, Janelle, let's talk about Keystone Realtors and why is this particular counter in focus today?
Well, so Investec has initiated a buy rating with the target price of rupees 875. What they like is they believe that company will be prime beneficiary of the rising supply of redevelopment projects in the Mumbai metropolitan region, that is MMR region. Also, what they like is that the asset-light business model of the company, which let it grow at the faster pace. Also, upcoming projects pipeline across diverse ticket sizes and redevelopment modes should ensure sustainability of the company to growing trends going ahead. Also, franchisee strength is also evident. If you look at their higher collection ratio and better than average realizations is what Investec believe, and positive commentary coming in at Investec to Rustomji Builders. Now, if you look at the stock is trading up with the gains of about 2%.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on that. But let's move on, talk about AGS Transact as well. That reported its numbers. Now, company managed to turn profitable after 3 quarters of losses. Now, the company reported a profit of 13.8 crores versus 0.6 crores what was there. So, yes, overall, the revenues of the company saw a slight bit of a decline of 8%, but operationally a strong performance coming in. Margins have seen a sharp improvement as well. And quarterly revenue is something that we're keeping an eye out on. Overall, a good performance that came in from the company payment solution business, banking automation side, especially seeing a growth of almost 17% today. AGS Transact is managing to hold on to gains of almost 4 to 5%. We're also spoken to the management this afternoon, but yes, good commentary that is coming from the management as well. So keeping an eye out on AGS Transact.
All right, let's talk about Krishna Diagnostics, and that particular counter is in focus in today's trading session. It saw an uptick of as much as 4.7% or so. Last time I checked the stock price, and the reason why the stock is in focus is because they signed a contract with Madhya Pradesh government to set up, operate, manage and maintain the MRI scan machines in 5 hospitals in the state. However, the company has not disclosed the size of the contract in its filings, but nevertheless, the fact that they've got a good contract coming in from Madhya Pradesh government, you can see the stock still holding on to very strong gains, about 4.7% as we speak.
Okay, let's move on to the next one, and we're talking about MCX then. Shivangi, what's the word on technicals for MCX now? Where do we see it headed?
So looking at some of the broking stocks and the exchange related stocks per se, particularly MCX is looking quite positive out of the lot, and we've seen that the stock has consolidated from April till now on a weekly basis, and now it's coming out of its higher base, which suggests that buying is now again emerging here, and it surpassed its hurdle juncture of round about 4,020 odd levels. So now the stock is positioning itself well for a good potential upside over here. And of course, this is also one stock where we see that there is quite a lot of volatile moves, but it's positioning itself well for a good up move towards 4,300 levels with a stop of 4,030 levels.
A lot of earnings trickling over the last few minutes. You have Mahindra Lifespace, Butterfly Gandhimathi. You also have V-Guard that's come out with its earnings. Keep an eye out on all of those counters, as well as KPIT, because they've come out with their investor presentation, but there's no change in the FY25 guidance that they have already given. So keep an eye out on all of these counters. But apart from that, also keep an eye out on Torrent Pharma and Jinay. Why should our viewers do that?
So the company reported a good set of numbers. If you look at the revenues, it saw an uptick of about 10% coming in at 2,860 crores. The net profit also grew about 21% coming in at 457 crores. If we talk about operating performance, then EBITDA saw an uptick of about 14% coming in at 904%, and EBITDA margins also improved, stood at 31.6% versus 30.5%. We also have a report by Jefferies where they have maintained their buy rating and hiked the target price to rupees 3,540. What they believe is that the company is a simple business, yet very solid performance by the company. The quarter was impacted by one-offs in top line as well as some other expenses. Otherwise, the performance beat could have been much higher is what they believe. Now they're expecting the company to continue its strong run as the international regions growth will also pick up in coming orders. Now if you look at the stock is marginally gaining, but if you look at past performance of the stock in this month so far, it has gained over 12%.
Okay, that is Torrent Pharma. Keeping an eye out on that one. But on that note, we're going to sip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. More stocks after the break. Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now. Let's keep it going with the stocks that have been buzzing in trade. And we have Bajaj Finance that's also in focus today. We're seeing a bit of a fall coming in for the stock. It's down 2% after the numbers reported by the company mainly was impacted because there was a sharp increase that we saw in credit costs, and that dampened the Q1 performance. So overall, it was a weak performance that one would say that came in from Bajaj Finance. Now, we also have a couple of brokerage notes that have come in on Bajaj Finance this morning. HSBC has downgraded the stock from a buy to a hold. Target price of 7,080 from previous target price of 8,000 rupees per share. Bernstein is maintaining the market perform rating, target price of 6,800 rupees rupees per share is what they've said. They said that obviously the massive credit cross increase, that is something that is creating a bit of a grim picture for them as well. And a sequential rise in the non-NIIs was the only saving grace for the company. Other than that, obviously in terms of the return on assets, that could have fallen even lower, and ROE moving closer to mid-teens. So that's what they're keeping an eye out on. But yes, Street is not too happy with Bajaj Finance's numbers, as of now down 2% in trade.
All right, a lot of earnings in the bottom of the screen. As you can see, you have V-Guard that's come out with the numbers, and the stock is reacting positively to those numbers. If you look at the margin, 10.5% versus 8.6% on a year-on-year basis. As for V-Guard, Petronet also has come out with very good set of earnings actually. If you look at the numbers on a QOQ basis, the margins have come in at around 11.6% versus 8%. Profit has seen an uptick of approximately 50%. Revenue, however, is lower, but yeah, EBITDA is also higher. So operating performance and the PAT numbers coming in very strong for Petronet LNG. The stock has seen a spike on back of that particular development. V-Guard, ditto coming in for that one, also saw uptick. Now actually kind of moderate those gains. That is V-Guard for you. But you have IOL Chemicals as in focus, and not because of earnings this time around. The stock was trading higher by about 4% or so. That's on course, and also the stock has actually snapped a 6-day losing streak today. The company has got a certificate of suitability from European Directorate for the quality of medicine and healthcare for its blood pressure drug, that's Valsartan, and also the certification will help the company to export now the drug in the European and other CEP accepting countries. So on back of that development coming in, stock holding on to strong gains of about 4.3% as we speak.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock. And Jinay, you've picked out Coforge for us. What is the reason for this stock being in focus?
Well, yes, so JM Financial have come up with a note. They have maintained their buying rating, but have hiked the target price to rupees 6,770 from the earlier target price to rupees 5,570. What they believe is that Q1 of FY 2025 was broadly in line, mainly with the growth led by travel segment. They believe that what management pointed out at the 12-month EOB, which is executable order book, growth of about 19%, and also healthy headcount addition is positive for the company. And on the merger front, they are positive on Coforge's ability to drive synergy and make kidney technologies and earnings accretive acquisition. They're expecting a 23% EPS CAGR growth over next 3 years, and they're valuing the company at 32 times EPS of FY 2027 estimates.
Alright, so that's Coforge for you. That is in focus on back of that development. But Shivangi, let's talk about India Mart, and how is this one looking on the charts to you? Do you think that this one has come to attractive level? Because we're talking about India Mart after a while actually.
Definitely, India Mart has now come on radar after a pretty long time because of the consumption and the kind of focus where it's shifting to. And of course, on the weekly structure, we've seen that this stock has now made a good bottoming out structure and now getting ready for the next up move. Even if we look at the derivatives data for this stock has shown some sort of cool off in the IVs, which signifies a comfortable position over here for the bulls. Even longs are being added. Even in the yesterday session, we saw 5% open interest addition in the long side, and good breakout can be seen, and volumes are adding here. Definitely, this is one stock which is going to be on radar, and the next targets that are coming out for this stock is around 3,150, and 2,930 would be an important support to watch out for on the downside.
Okay. Surely keeping an eye out on those levels over there for India Mart. Let's move on and talk about Zensar Tech. That is in focus after we have a brokerage note that's coming on Zensar Tech. Obviously, this is after its numbers. What Investec has done, they've hiked the target price to 885 rupees per share. They're maintaining the buy target, and the previous target price was around 710 rupees per share. They're saying there's a strong potential to significantly outperform in terms of growth. The company has hopes to close larger deals going forward across verticals. That will be a positive for them, and they believe even a single large deal is meaningful on its small revenue base that they have. So EBITDA percentages which were impacted by one-offs leading to around 200 basis point miss in terms of estimates, but that was a one-off. So overall hike in valuation is something that they believe will reflect the fact that a few large deal wins could alter the growth story and growth trajectory for the company going forward. As of now, come off those days highs, but still holding on to gains of almost 1%.
Alright, let's talk about Thyrocare, and that particular counter saw a huge jump on back of its earnings. It's set for a third consecutive day of gains, 15.6% up move right now. The company actually reported a 40% year-on-year jump in their consolidated profit on back of strong testing demand. The revenue from operations also saw an uptick about 16% on a year-on-year basis. Healthy, strong set of numbers actually driving the strong gains coming for Thyrocare for a third consecutive trading session.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock that we'll talk about, and that is Apollo Tyres. Shivangi, on the charts, what's the word now coming in for Apollo Tyres? When you're looking at it in terms of the move, today surely is buzzing in trade. Last 6 months, it's, obviously last few months we saw the recovery, but overall 6-month return has just been 2%. So what's the outlook now?
Auto has been one space which has contributed to this entire bull run consistently from the start. And auto ancillary pack is now starting to add up to the momentum and accelerate here. So definitely these stocks are coming into radar right now. And from the last, of course, 6 months, we've seen a good percentage rise over here, almost 80% over here. But on the daily frame, it's halted at the higher zones and now getting ready for a good up move. So definitely this stock is on radar, and in fact the entire tire space is having a good tailwind over here, which will affect the stock as well. So this stock immediate targets which we are looking at is around 560 levels and then 600 positionally, and 525 would be a support to watch out for.
An eye out on Hudco actually. If you look at the stock price, sharp jump over the last few minutes because of the news that was a short while ago flashing on the bottom of your screen. They are in an MOU with the government of Rajasthan in this to provide assistance for housing, urban infrastructure for about 1 lakh crore rupees over the next 5 years. So you have Hudco that is seeing a strong up move about 2%. Sterlite Tech is the other one that's flashing on your screen because that one also has entered into or extended a partnership with a company for full fiber network in UK. So you have Sterlite Tech seeing a jump of about 5%.
Okay, keeping an eye out of both of those names as well. But Jinai, Schaeffler India, that's the one you've picked out for us. What's the news for you today?
Well, it's back on the focus of earnings. If you look at the revenues, it saw an uptick of about 15% coming in at 2,107 crores. And if you talk about net profit, it saw a jump of about 4% coming in at 245 crores. If you talk about operating performance, then EBITDA saw a jump of about 10% coming in at 376 crores. But EBITDA margin slightly contracted coming in at 17.9% versus 18.7%. Now the company has said that the revenue momentum persists across both domestic as well as international side of business. Also, volume gains and continuous cost management by the company drove earnings this side. If you look at the stock is trading with the gains of about 6% today.
Alright, so that is Schaeffler India seeing an up move on back of its earnings, but also you have Bliss GVS also that's come out with its numbers right now. If you look at on a year-on-year basis, good up move coming in for the revenue as well as for the PAT, and the stock has seen a good up move of about 7.8%. Clearly, Vinny, you have earnings that have hijacked our show today.
Absolutely. And Shivangi, you've picked out Bajaj Finserv as the next stock, which also reported its numbers today. But what are they looking like on the charts and technicals? When you look at it overall, not much of an excitement that we are seeing, especially after Bajaj Finance's numbers. Finserv also doesn't seem too much of a great set.
On the sell side, because definitely momentum is clearly losing out over here. And we are seeing, from the last, 6 odd months, the stock is just trying to move, but absence of follow-up is what is drowning the stock again. And now it's clearly given a breakdown, and of course there was no strength, and now strength is all the more losing out over here. So definitely this stock is looking quite negative, and we've seen that the entire banking and NBFC space for that matter is underperforming from a very long time, and this is now continuing as a trend which is not kind of breaking out. but definitely this stock looks more weak towards 1500 levels, and 1600 would be a resistance to watch out for.
Eye out over there for Bajaj Finserv. This is a sell side call coming in from Shivangi. But on that note, we are absolutely out of time on this edition of Market Fatafat. So thank you so much, Shivangi, as well as Jinay, for joining in with us on the show. And it's going to be a goodbye from Shevdon, myself, as well as the team who put this show together.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.